Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is John Massoud. John is running for the Virginia Senate District 1.
Yes, sir.
Along with 8 other people.
There are about 8 of us, yes, sir.
Well, John, the first thing I ask people always is, why in the world do you want to do this?
I want to tell everybody a story about me, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure.
My father came to this country in 1962, and he had renounced Islam, and he was basically told by his family that you either have to reconvert or else. Americans are different people, and we come from different parts of the world, but we all have something in common. We don't like people telling us what we're going to do.
Exactly.
And so my father very politely extended his, well, let's just say very politely, he told them he was not going to do that,
right,
and left and came to this country. He married his English teacher, my mom. And I talk to him now, and he's like, John, this isn't the same country I knew. This isn't the same country that you grew up in. Ronald Reagan said, and then I think E.W. Jackson very eloquently said.
No, that's the word I was thinking of.
Yeah, eloquently, yes. Said, freedom is not passed along in the blood veins. It is to be handed down, it is to be fought for, defended, and then handed down to the next generations for us to do the same.
Yeah.
Our country and our Commonwealth are hanging on a precipice right now. Look at what's going on in Warren County with the Samuels Library.
Right.
Look what's happening in our schools. There are locales that are trying to pass unconstitutional gun laws. People are being taxed and regulated into oblivion, and they are being told it's good for them. Somebody has to stand up and say, no. That's why I'm running.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you've been involved in politics for as long as I've known you. So, what are you doing now? You're in the 6th District Committee somewhere. What do you do there?
I am the 6th Congressional District Republican Party Chairman.
Okay.
And I will tell you that being the Congressional District Republican Party Chairman and my former job as a member of the Strasburg Town Council makes me the perfect guy to go to Richmond and fight for the people of SD1. SD1 is Warren, Shenandoah, Clarke, Frederick, and Winchester.
Right.
My experience as being the Congressional District GOP chair and as being a former member of the Town Council make me the perfect guy. Shall I?
You can expand on that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
For many years previous, the 6th Congressional District was an eyesore of the Republican Party of Virginia. Here was this expansive land. 17 locales at the time. It's now 19. And we weren't getting all the votes out of it. We weren't getting all the votes out of it because the Congressional District GOP was dysfunctional. It was so bad that my predecessor was actually threatening to sue people. I ran on the premises of, guys, we can do better than this. Hashtag make the 6th District great again. And I won the convention in 2020. And I made myself, and I made everybody a pledge. I wasn't going to be ideological about this, even though I am a staunch conservative. I am the former head of the Tea Party in Shenandoah County. I said, I'm going to call balls and strikes. I'm going to call them fairly. But I expect everybody to behave. If you have a problem with somebody else, if you have a problem with something somebody else is doing, that's fine. Discuss it like in a business-like way. Keep personalities out of it. We're going to talk policy, and personalities have nothing to do with this. The end result, in 2021, Glenn Youngkin got 63,000 more votes than Ed Gillespie did in 2017. Why is that important? Youngkin won the state by 63,000 votes.
Yeah.
So I will look at you with a straight face, and I will look at the voters of SD1 with a straight face, and I will say to you, we won it inside the 6th Congressional District. Ben Klein's number is up by 5% over my predecessor. I get things done. As a former member of the Strasburg Town Council, in fiscal 2021, we actually cut spending and cut the size of the bureaucracy on a budget I proposed.
Well, you know how to get things done.
I do.
And I think that's what people want. People don't want to hear a bunch of rhetoric and campaign promises, although we all we do that when we campaign. But I think people want to know, do what you say you're going to do. And I think whether they agree with you or not, I think people appreciate that.
Well, I talk to everybody. And the one thing I understand that I think a lot of my friends who are running don't is we represent every person. White, black, straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, independent, Christian, Jew, atheist, doesn't matter. We represent everybody, and you have to talk to everybody. They don't have to agree with me. But what they do have to do is understand that they come to me, I will listen. Let me give you an example. When the Democrats took over the state in November 2019, if you remember correctly, and let's talk to the audience for a second, if you all remember correctly, the sanctuary resolutions and I think 115 or 120 locales became sanctuary cities or sanctuary counties in Virginia. I wrote one of the first sanctuary resolutions to pass in a town in Strasbourg. And it passed unanimously on a very ideologically divided council. And there was one woman who was a Democrat who wrote a very eloquent, I think wrong, mind you, but a very eloquent expanse on why we should not pass this. I responded to her. I said, ma'am, I appreciate this. This is why I'm supporting this. I'm going to let you know I wrote it. This is why I'm supporting this. And I appreciate you writing, but I have to let you know how I feel. After the vote was over and we won, she actually called me up and said, John, I don't agree with you, but you're the only person who took the time out to write to me.
There you go. Yeah, that's something too. I hear that a lot from people, that have audiences or the consumer, I guess the voter, so to speak, that, some people, they never return my call. I don't feel like they're listening to me. Then other people say, no matter what, he's taking care of it. He did something. I was shocked. I tell people all the time, call your congressman. That's their job, to help you.
Yeah. And
I've talked to Ben Klein here many times. And he said, call me. I'm here to help you, and if I can't do it, I know a guy. So those things,
right.
and they've helped me out on a lot of things that dealing with the federal government, but surprisingly, people don't think they can call their.
But people know they can come to me because everybody has my phone number, and just so you understand, my phone number is 703-869-7945. That's for those few of you who don't have it. And please do call anytime you have a question or a concern. But I talk to people, and I put my phone number out there as Congressional District Chair, and I said, if you have a problem, I have a problem. If you don't understand why this is happening or this is happening or this is happening, I'll try to explain it to you. And if I can't explain it to you, I'll find somebody who can. So I understand something I think a lot of people don't. Elected officials are not leaders. We are servants. It is our job to work on behalf of the locale we are serving and the people who live there or the businesses who operate there. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
No, I think most people think you can do anything.
No.
I mean, you're in charge. And I think people look at that as elected officials and, they think, oh, they're in charge. They're running the place.
No, we are not.
Yeah, and I think
the voters are ultimately in charge. I think a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of them don't understand, hey, we have a power here. And that was what the Tea Party movement, of which I used to lead in Shenandoah County, was all about. Power belongs with the governed, not the governing body.
Right. So what are a couple points that, instead of the 57 points on your campaign thing, what are your top 3 things that you really think needs to change in our...
I don't have a 57-point agenda, mind you. I want to make sure we understand that right now.
Well, a lot of people do.
I'm not one of those people. Okay. There are several things I want to get accomplished, but I'd like to talk about maybe 3 or 4 of them. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
The first thing I want to do is, I'm not sure if most people are aware of this. We'll talk to the camera again for a second. There is an exception in the state law that allows for school libraries to keep pornographic materials in school libraries. I happen to think that's a horrible idea. I cannot overemphasize how bad an idea that is. I'd like to get rid of that exception. That's probably the first thing I want to do. I'm a firm believer in Reagan's old adage that the government that governs best is that which governs least. And I would like to see spending cut, and I would like to see the size of the bureaucracy lowered. We have to, and this is not something that's very sexy, but this is something that we have to discuss and deal with. Medicaid expansion passed a few years ago, and it is blowing a hole in the state budget. If not yet, it's going to sooner or later. It is currently, I believe, the number one expenditure in the state government, and it's only going to increase and increase and increase. We need to get that under control. We need to curb Medicaid spending. I would prefer to reduce it back to pre-levels. That's what I would like to see. If that can be done, great. I'm not sure it can be, but that's where I think we need to go. I am a gun owner. I am a firm believer that the Second Amendment and those 4 words at the end of the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed, are 4 of the most important words in the English language. I want to make sure we have constitutional carry. I want to turn back red flag laws. These laws that passed in Virginia several years ago are dangerous. I believe we need to work on ending abortion as we know it. I would like to propose the strongest pro-life measures that can pass. I look forward to introducing that. There are several other things I'd like to introduce as well. And I think we also need to start talking about having a serious conversation about an election day, not an election season.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
Yes.
I thought we've always had mail-in votes. We called them absentee ballots. You
Yes.
could always, since I've been alive, we've always
Yes.
been able to. If you can't make it to the poll, all you got to do is call up. You say, "Send me an absentee ballot" for
Right.
almost any reason, and we've always had that. It goes along the line like voter ID. You know,
Right.
I'm thinking. It's not. You don't have to have an ID to vote. You have to have an ID to have your vote counted. But there's no. I can't see. You have an ID for everything. Why? What's wrong with having an ID to vote?
If you have to have an ID to own a gun or to purchase a gun,
Drive a car.
drive a car,
Get a library
cash a
card.
check, get a library card, cash a check, you should be able to bring an ID to vote.
Because you want an honest and fair election.
Absolutely.
The only reason you wouldn't want one,
Is if you're going to cheat.
that's how I look at it. But, it's people say, well, you're disenfranchising voters. Show me why. How? How am I doing that?
The people who are saying that are the people who are perfectly okay with what happens in Cook County, Cook County, Illinois,
Right.
with multiple voting from the grave.
Right,
I mean, come on, let's
right.
be honest here.
Yeah, yeah.
If you remember correctly, the Virginia Project, I believe, erased 50,000 dead or improper voters from the rolls. And the Democrats were screaming. Why? That's 50,000 votes that they couldn't
Yeah.
conjure up.
Anybody with any common sense knows it's wrong, or it's the right thing to do. It's wrong to
Even
have
most Democrats agree that there should be ID.
Yeah.
That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. Most Democrats will tell you, I have no problem with someone having to have an ID to
Right.
vote.
I can see 50 years ago it might have been not a problem, but a lot of people didn't have ID. So my mother-in-law, of course, she's was 90 years old. She's born at home.
Right.
That's kind of gone away. And nowadays you can't go to school. You can't do anything without some sort of identification.
Look, if it's that big a deal, we can make sure we have mobile DMVs. If it's that big a deal, let's make sure we issue everybody a government ID so they can vote.
Yeah. Well, even if you don't have one when you walk up, they'll let you vote. They'll give you a provisional ballot.
Yes.
You vote.
Right.
And the registrar will go and work and make sure and check everything and make sure it's legit, and she'll count your vote.
Yes.
So it's not like you're being turned away at the polls.
Of course not, but it's a
the way
talking point. It's a rallying
Well,
cry.
that's what it sounds like to
Yes.
me when you hear them talk about it. Oh, they can't even get into the polls and blah, blah. Show me one person. They haven't.
You can't because it's inaccurate.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
All right, well, that's one thing we talked about. So what else do you think is another hot, we talked about your points thing. What do you see? Let's talk about local elections, because this is semi a local election, even though it's a state office. What do you think about these, election, the local part of elections? We've got supervisors, and we have these constitutional offices, where all these offices should be.
Mike, I don't know if you read my newsletters. I'm assuming you don't, because I talk about local elections very often in my 6th Congressional District newsletters. And we need to, it does no good to take back the United States. It does no good to take back Virginia if we lose our localities. What happens at the local level, and I say this as a former member of the Strasburg Town Council, is just as important as what happens at the federal and state level. Because what good is it if you have your taxes cut in Washington, D.C., but there's more local control and you're just dealing with a different
Right.
bureaucracy.
All elections are local, or all
Absolutely,
politics
yes.
are local. So
what I've been doing up and down the congressional district is talking about public servants who have done a very good job, who are interested in serving the public and not serving themselves, and highlighting them. And I've done this in Lexington, Virginia. I've done it in Rockingham. I've done it in Page County. I did it today in Winchester, endorsing Sheriff Sales for re-election. I will be doing it in Warren, Shenandoah, and all 19 locales of the now 6th Congressional District. They are very important. Please look at what happened in Warren County last week with the Samuels Library. If we had a woke board of supervisors, they would have basically said, hey, screw you, the library can do whatever they want to do, and if you don't like it, tough.
Right. And they didn't do that. I think they fully funded the library, but they said, well, maybe I think we need to review some things. And
they fully funded the library for 3 months.
It better, yeah.
They fully funded the library for 3 months, if I understand it correctly. Yeah. And what they're going to do is come back and revisit this in September.
Right. Well, they fully funded it, but they only allocated 3 months. And then, but again, it's set up every 3 months for them to come by. They have whatever they're going to do. And, like they said, we have an agreement with every organization we fund except the library. So that's something they're going to change. So I think they considered it. I think they weighed people's opinion. It's a hot topic. And I think it'll all come out in the end pretty good.
It's a hot topic. If I've been on the board of supervisors, and they know things that I don't know, so I do want to be fair. Yeah. But if I was on the board of supervisors, what I would have done was this. I would have said, okay, here's your full funding. 2 things. Number 1, all pornography or sexually explicit material must be moved out of the children's library and into the adult section.
Right.
In a perfect world, I'd probably prefer it all gone. I'm not a big fan of censorship either. I think there's a fine line. I would probably, on a personal level, prefer it all gone, but if it's kept away from the kids, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Number 2, put up a citizens advisory commission that would monitor what the library is doing and make sure that smut and filth don't come back into the children's section.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody agrees with a step, and they do have some points they brought up and come up with an agreement. I looked through some of these things. It looks pretty good. I think that's the direction that they're going to go.
I hope so.
And I think it'll all turn out okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
I'm live to serve you, sir. I live to serve the good people of the 1st
Well,
District.
I want people to know that early voting is going on.
Yes, sir, it is.
I think it's till Saturday this year, right
Yes,
now.
sir.
And then the election is on Tuesday the 20th. So you want to make sure people get out and vote because, again, like we've discussed, it's so important to vote in all our elections. And this new district here, this is going to, how is it going to balance the Senate in Virginia?
Currently, the Senate is, I believe, at a 22 Democrat, 18 Republican margin.
Right.
We're looking at picking up 2, possibly 3 seats in the Senate. Whoever wins this election, this nomination on June 20, will likely be the next senator from this district.
Right.
It is a very Republican district, which is why you need to make sure, and I'm going to talk to the people of the SD1 for a minute and to your viewers. It's important to make sure that you elect a person who knows how to get things done. And I have a record of being able to get legislation moved and get things done that help the people of SD1. So I'm humbly asking for your vote on June 20. And if you're not sure you can be there on June 20, then please early vote at your locale. Thank you.
Well, John, we're going to put all your information to your website and all your other contact information. We'll put it here below the video, write something up about it, and hopefully people will jump on board here, and it'll go out to our subscriber list tomorrow. And
Awesome.
good luck on the election.
I appreciate that.
Hey, thanks again,
God
John.
bless you, sir.
Really appreciate it. Thanks
Thank you,
again,
sir.
John.